It's the Kenneth Johnson Show live on WPPM 106.5 Philadelphia. I'm excited to be here today for this show because this is what we do each and every Monday at 2 p.m. live on 106.5 FM. If you're just joining us, if this is your first time locking in with us, you picked a good one. If you ride around Philly listening to 106.5 FM, we appreciate you. I know we're streaming on LinkedIn Live. We're streaming, I believe, on Facebook Live. We are streaming on YouTube. There's no reason to miss this show. I tell people this all the time. There is no reason to miss the Kenneth L. Johnson Show. All right, Philly, let's do what we do each and every Monday. We talk a little bit about what's happening. Pulled up in the city today, and I'm walking around. I thought it was going to be raining here, but the weather's actually really nice. I haven't been in studio in quite a few weeks, and I am so excited and happy to be here. The city is still standing after the announcement of Mr. LeBron James joining the Sixers, so I was happy for that. The city is still standing after, well, I guess we're still celebrating the 250th anniversary of the country, and the city is still standing and waiting to welcome Dr. Vedette Coleman and all my people from the National Association of African American Museums. Their national conference is here, I believe, next week. So I'm excited, man, about that. If you may remember, Vedette was on the show talking her talk. That's what she does. And I trust that you guys will come out and support the National Association because they do exceptional work. And I'm just excited that they're bringing that work to Philadelphia. Now, you heard me say trust, right? You heard me say trust, right? And we talking trust today. Let me go back and tell some stories. So we're talking trust today. We want to talk it with RoMaine Jones. Now, I trust that you know I have the best guest in the world to come on the show. This is what I do. Each and every Monday at 2 p.m. on 106.5 FM. I literally have the best guest in the world come through and holler at me and chop it up. But some of these guests I have a personal relationship with, and RoMaine happens to be one of those people. Now I'll go back, and when I say go back, I'm going to go back probably about, I don't know, 15 years. 15 years probably. No, maybe not 15, maybe 10, give or take. I don't know. All right, RoMaine's going to be able to let me know this. But all right, so check this out. I locked in and caught up with RoMaine back when she was laying off everybody at Sunoco. She may not even remember this. When I bring her on, we'll talk about it. But I called her. You know, I'm a recruiter. For those of you that don't know, I have a recruitment firm, East Coast Executives, and I was prospecting, came across RoMaine's name, and I locked in, gave her a call. We were talking. I was trying to get business, and she was letting the whole staff go pretty much. And that was when we started having a real conversation about trust. I think that was probably our first conversation. And that was a trust-based conversation because she was very vulnerable in saying that it's hard to look people in the face and tell them that they no longer have a job. And this was Sunoco, I believe, right? And these are people that have worked these jobs for decades, and you're sitting there and you're the bearer of bad news. So you know, she shared with me about that and how that was impacting even her mental well-being doing that work. But after that, we stayed in contact, and we stayed in contact to a point that we continued to support one another's work. She would come through and do things at the Urban League of Philadelphia, supporting them. I did an event at the library here, the free library on the Parkway. RoMaine came through and supported that. She was working with a casino here in the area, would always hit me up and say, hey, I'm looking for this, I'm looking for that. So when I tell you that I am thankful for this person and I trust what this person says about the work that's out here being done, believe me when I say it. Help me in welcoming RoMaine Jones-Wise to the stage. RoMaine, what's good?
How are you, sir? So good to see you. Happy to be here.
It's good to see you as well. I'm excited and happy to be here with you today. It's been a minute. Like, I really haven't seen you in a minute. Yeah.
Took me back to my Sunoco days.
Yeah, you're back to the Sunoco days. Yeah. That's where we kind of linked up. So all right, listen. You got a lot of stuff going on here. If you don't mind, you can tell our audience a little bit about yourself. I'd appreciate it.
Sure. So I am RoMaine, better known as Ro or Lettuce. I am currently, that's my running joke. People probably know. If people go, oh, they never forget me. You'll never forget it.
Good point.
That's true. I am currently the senior consultant with Exude Human Capital here based out of Philadelphia doing HR consulting. And I'm also the founder and principal of a Wiser Choice Consulting, which is my firm. And I absolutely love what I do. I work at the intersectionality of HR, leadership development, inclusion, and belonging, but I have a passion for seeing people succeed and thrive. And I work from the mindset of having a heart for people and a mind for business. So I am the perfect storm in any organization because I see people for who they are and identify ways to solve problems that most people just overlook.
The problems that most people overlook. And wow, you kind of dropped me off right where I wanted to go. People are overlooking the importance of trust, emotional intelligence, all of those things in the workplace. This is the Kenneth L. Johnson Show, where we talk career, culture, community. And this is our leadership series. And I wanted to have you on to speak about the importance of leaders really locking in and being a place where trust exists, right? So, I guess the first question I would have for you in this conversation is, can you lead people effectively without being liked? Because a lot of times people equate trust with like.
Right.
Talk to me.
They do. Of course you can. Yes, to answer your question, short and sweet, yes, leadership is not a popularity contest. It's about trust and relationships. And I think the challenge is we haven't clearly defined what type of relationships we should be having in the workplace. Everybody does not have to be your friend. You can have colleagues, you can have mentors, you can have associates. And that clear definition creates healthy boundaries.
Okay.
And what happens is we get leaders presently who want to become overly familiar with their folks, and it leads to subjective leadership, where people don't feel like they're getting the best version of the leader. They don't know which version of the leader is showing up. Am I talking to my supervisor or am I talking to my friend?
Okay.
And it creates challenges, especially when holding people accountable and having those challenging, or what I like to call constructive conversations.
Constructive conversations. You spoke about boundaries. It's interesting. We've had a ton of coaches come here on the platform, and even speakers that kind of have books. I mean, listen, the coaches, Nicole Smith, Julia Rock, not a coach, but a speaker, Minda Harts, all of them have said something about boundaries. And then you bring a trust conversation and you're speaking about boundaries. So how are boundaries created, or when are boundaries created within the work relationship?
So boundaries are created at the beginning. It's kind of setting clear expectations of what you want. And it's a dialogue. It's not a one-sided conversation. What is it that you want from people? How do you expect your team to operate and function? What is it you're looking for from your leader? And being clear. How do I communicate? What are my preferences? What do I need to be successful? What do you expect from me to be successful? And really kind of setting it clear, especially when people have gone through transition with a lot of change in org structures or leadership changes, just making sure that conversation is happening.
That conversation happening is so important to us. So we're talking about trust, but what makes a leader truly trustworthy? I know you spoke about setting those boundaries from the beginning, but what makes a leader truly trustworthy? Like, give me, I don't know, if we can just think of a leadership toolbox for trustworthiness. Talk to me about that.
Leadership toolbox. Here are the 4 things that you need: integrity, consistency, clarity, competence, and care.
Whoa.
There it is.
Repeat that again for me, please.
Integrity.
Okay.
Consistency.
Yes.
Clarity, competence, and care.
Got you.
Now, do you need me to unpack all of those tools so people really understand it? I'm happy to.
I think they would want us to. Okay. Hey, listen, if you got questions and you want us to start, locking in on some other things. Hit us up, 646-600-8510, 646-600-8510. It's the Kenneth L. Johnson Show live on 106.5 FM, Philadelphia.
So the integrity piece is, do your actions match what you say you value? Are you really holding true to what you believe? Are you integral in your actions, how you treat people, and all of that? The big one for me is consistency. Can I anticipate what's going to happen? Do my employees know which version of me they're going to get? Do I show up differently when I'm stressed? Do you show up differently when you're under pressure? Do you show up differently at the office party? Let's talk about it. We've all been to the office
parties, right?
Uh-huh.
That made me laugh.
The clarity piece is kind of where the boundary line comes in and establishing. It's the expectations, it's the responsibilities, and also understanding what consequence may look like when things are not met. So people have a clear understanding of what that is. Competency is just important because none of us want to work for anybody who we don't think knows what they're doing. So you need to look competent.
Sure.
You have to know, what it is that you're doing. And the last one I think is where people miss the mark, the care piece. You want to care for people. You want to know how they're doing as human beings. Anybody who has ever had a conversation with me, a meeting with me, will know that I check in with the whole person before we dive into business talk. How are you? Is this still a good time to have conversation? Is there other things that are taking priority that we need to pivot? Understanding that everyone is dealing with something external to work and seeing them as a whole person. And caring does not mean you have to overshare and be overly personable, but I can care for you, your family, your situations, and be supportive without being overly familiar.
RoMaine Jones live on the Kenneth L. Johnson Show. RoMaine, listen, as you break that down, I start thinking initially about accountability on both sides of this, right? But when does accountability become bad leadership?
That's a really good question, Kenneth. Oh my goodness. It becomes bad leadership when it's done in an unhealthy way. And I say unhealthy in terms of context. So if you are holding somebody accountable, the way you do it says a lot. So you want to make sure that you're doing it in a way that does not cause embarrassment to someone. Any accountability or corrective action conversation needs to be private. It's not something you do in front of other people.
That's extremely important.
It is very important.
Yeah.
I'll share a quick story. I was in the bank on Friday and there was a supervisor giving constructive feedback to one of the tellers in front of other colleagues and a line full of customers. And at the end of my transaction, I asked to speak to her. And
you asked to speak to
who?
I
need to speak to the supervisor.
Whoa, okay.
I said, I need to talk to the lady that had the green blouse on.
Talk about community banking.
And they were like, well, she's not available. I said, well, I will gladly take her card. I got her card. I sat in my car and I sent her a very nice email and I gifted it as constructive feedback. That what you did in front as a customer of this bank for a long time, what you did in front of the customers and other colleagues was probably very humiliating to her. And it undermined her authority and her credibility to everybody else that was around her.
Yeah, that's bad leadership and bad management and a lot of other things as well. All right, listen. Well, first things first, you should go to the bank on Mondays before you come to the show. Because you might be giving out money. I don't know what's happening over there at your bank.
I'm blessed to be a blessing.
But they need to start paying you because you're giving feedback. All right, is that innate to your personality? And here's why I asked this question. I remember earlier conversations that we've had, and you always kind of pointed me in the direction of something. And I think I appreciated that very much about our conversation. And I don't care if this was a place to go get lunch. Like you just always were like, hey, you familiar with this? Or, hey, did you think of this? And you brought that to the times that you've came and done mock interviews and things of that nature with some of our constituents and clients. So I can appreciate that. But is that just innate in you or is that part of your leadership journey?
It's kind of both. I was raised by the most diplomatic mother and charismatic father that you can possibly imagine. My
Shout out to the Joneses.
Could talk his way out of anything, and my mother was diplomacy personified. And I am the hybrid of those two.
Okay.
So that plus getting constructive feedback from mentors and leaders throughout my career has taught me that it's always a gift to receive any type of feedback, be it positive, be it constructive, and making recommendations for someone to consider is just a way for us to grow and develop. It's always about growth.
Always about growth.
Always.
So always about growth is important for a couple of different reasons, because I do believe that the best leaders are active participants in the growth of the people that they're leading, right? And sometimes that is superseding their own growth to point out to someone or to position someone for another opportunity. I've seen some really good leaders take someone off of their team and position them in a better opportunity. They know it's going to impact their numbers, but they also know that this is a better place for this individual. Is that a part of good leadership?
That's a part of stellar leadership.
I love it.
It is something that you should strive for, to empower people to do better than you are. So true leadership is cultivating future leaders to be able to multiply impact. And it is something that I've seen in organizations. It's something that I've seen in churches, and it is something that I aspire to be able to create, to understand the work does not end with me. It's going to carry on.
Yes.
And even if that means that person is carrying on somewhere else, I've still left something tangible. It creates legacy. People will remember that you remember your good leaders.
Sure. Always.
20, 30 years ago, I remember the leaders that have had a profound impact, some of which I am still in contact, some have gone on and passed on, but the mark, and it hasn't always been the leaders that were the nicest. It was the ones that were honest and trustworthy and candid.
So it's interesting when you speak about that. I still stay in touch with the person that introduced me to executive search. He was such a positive influence and a good leader, but he was a good leader for me. It might not have worked for everyone, but for me, he basically was like, there's the phone. I have a blueprint. Might not be the one that you want to follow, but do your thing. And then I'll tap you on the shoulder if I think there's another way you need to go. And that's what I needed from a leader. As you look back on your leadership journey, can you tell me what is different than what you thought? Like, is there something out here where you're like, wow, my opinion of that has changed over the years?
Yes. The need to be liked has drastically changed.
Okay.
I would much rather be respected than liked. And I've learned that it's okay if people don't like me. I know I'm not everybody's cup of tea, and I prefer coffee instead anyway. But needless to say, going into certain situations and learning not to take everything personal is okay.
Yeah.
You build thick skin, but I show up as my authentic self in all engagements. It doesn't matter if I'm talking to a CEO or a company or the person cleaning the bathroom. I give respect where respect is due.
But RoMaine, it's hard not to take bad leadership personal. That's a difficult thing. Do you have any advice for people, or tips even for people that are struggling with that?
Bad leadership is kind of a learned behavior because we're replicating what we've either seen done previously that we thought worked, or we're doing the complete opposite because of the experience we had.
Okay.
And it's a multi-generational thing, because depending on where you work and the age in which people came up, their leadership styles differ. Generations prior to me, you left work at home. That's wrong. You left home at home. You brought work to work.
Sure.
That was it. It didn't blend. Well, after the pandemic, we've all blended. Like you all show up. We bring everything with us everywhere we go.
That's a good point.
But we have to be able to understand that people do have feelings, and while some people think feelings don't matter, the impact of how you're engaging with people matters. So my recommendation would be, if you're offering leadership feedback, it's not an attack on the person. Be very specific about the action, observation, or behavior that you need to see change.
Well, we're engaging with you today on the Kenneth L. Johnson Show, live on WPPM 106.5 Philadelphia. RoMaine Jones, Kenneth L. Johnson, having a conversation about trust. RoMaine, what is the biggest mistake that you see leaders make in regards to trust?
They don't admit when they're wrong.
That's frustrating for everybody on the other side of that.
Yes.
Why is that? Is that just a general thing with people? People struggle to admit. That's not even a leadership thing.
No.
That might be a personal flaw, a personality flaw for a lot of people.
It's a challenge because we feel like we always have to be on and be correct. But true vulnerability is admitting when we get something wrong, learning from it, taking it as an opportunity to do something differently going forward. And leaders who can own a mistake will have more credibility with their team because they're not going to point blame at their team when things don't go right. I'll own it. It was my mistake. I misstepped. Or even asking their team, how can I be of support? What role did I play in this mishap? Because sometimes, leaders inadvertently cause fumbles on their teams and they don't even know it because they're not courageous enough to ask their team for feedback.
You have to be courageous. You have to have thick skin. I know you mentioned that as well. Are there any other things that you see that are needed for leadership success?
To be able to actively listen.
Active listening is extremely important on both sides of that. Even if you're someone that's following a leader, how are you learning if you're not listening? And I think sometimes you get into these meetings and as a leader, you want the ideas from your team, but you also have a plan. And if you didn't convey that plan well enough, maybe they don't know where you're trying to go. So that's important as well. So it's all kind of a circle of feedback, a feedback loop. Let's call it that, right?
Yes.
So talk to us a little more about that.
So feedback loop is if you're giving vision, because some leaders are wonderful visionaries. They can see far off and this is where we want to go. But if you can't detail that or kind of make that tangible or palatable for people, it's kind of hard to figure out where they fit in. So being specific and giving directives, listening, and having multiple ways for people to give you feedback. Everybody's not going to talk out loud in the meeting. Some people are very uncomfortable having conversations in meetings, but if you ask for feedback afterwards and have a way for them to have a repository or send an email or a Teams or a Slack or something, give them another method so that they know that their voices are being heard. And then even if you don't take their recommendation, acknowledge it. Very important.
How has leadership changed? And I love that. I love the answer you just gave. It just made me think of a question. We were speaking, I don't know if it was then in this interview or even earlier, but we were speaking about the pandemic. And yeah, it was prior to this interview. How has leadership changed, or the effectiveness of a good leader changed in remote work environments, hybrid work environments? A lot of people are struggling to kind of cross those lines. Talk to me about what they need to do. If there's any resources out there that you've came across that you may be willing to share with them. I just need to learn about this.
The hybrid remote environment can be very challenging if it's not managed well. One thing I highly recommend, and I talk to a lot of my clients about this, is that when you are not physically in the same space with a person, there still needs to be an accessibility point. It needs to be like an open water cooler hours on Teams, pop in and chat.
That's a great idea. Yeah.
Like, how we pop our heads in when we're in the building, like, let me just ask you a quick question. Set that up virtually and it goes a very long way. Our team at Exude is 90% remote.
Okay.
And we have check-in times where we're all readily available, ping for a quick question. Everything doesn't have to be a formal meeting because meetings make people nervous. I don't know why. They feel like they have to be very well prepared, but I am also a fan. Send your agenda before your meeting and then really decide if a meeting needs to be a meeting or could it be an email.
Well, sometimes when that agenda is sent, it seems like it's too late. They're already locked in, but I guess it's not. But I can appreciate that. It drives me crazy when I have a meeting request and people don't tell me what we're meeting about.
Right.
And everybody's time is valuable, right, and I respect everyone's time, but this might not require us carving out time to meet. This may be a simple Q&A situation, and let's get to it.
One of my favorite resources to give clients is the meeting decision tree. Does this really need to be a meeting? Because everything does not have to be a 30-minute sit-down conversation. Understand what you're looking to achieve. Is this a brainstorm? Do you want feedback? Are you trying to solve a problem? Kind of go into the conversation understanding what the outcome is desired. A lot of times we just put, times on the calendar just to connect with people. Not the ideal thing to do. Make sure people know what's expected. Send an agenda when you can so people know how to prepare so they can fully contribute. So we don't spend time planning meetings to meet about things that we're going to eventually have to meet about and then circle back when we could really just be doing the work.
I'm laughing because I have a couple of those meetings on my schedule right now.
They're
not my meetings. They're other people's meetings, but I have them. Listen, you spoke about the meeting decision tree, and I haven't heard that term. Talk to me about that.
So the meeting decision tree is kind of asking a set of questions before you decide to make something a meeting. What am I looking to achieve? Do I need am I giving directives? If I'm just giving directives, can I send it in a memo form? Or for people who don't like to read a lot, can I voice record it or video record it and send it out? Does not need to be a meeting if I'm just giving directive, if it's one-way conversation. Meetings typically need to be a dialogue, an exchange of idea. If this is one-sided conversation, there's a different way to do it to save everybody's time. Can it be a memo? Can it be a meeting? Can it be a feedback request? If it's a brainstorming session, how do people need to come prepared? Making sure people are fully equipped to contribute, and then also taking into account that everybody processes differently. So we want to be inclusive for all of those like myself with neurodivergent conditions.
Yes. All right, we're coming down the stretch here, RoMaine. How do you lead people who don't trust you?
First off, don't demand trust. I'm gonna just start there.
Okay.
You have to diagnose what it's missing. Be courageous enough to ask yourself, is it me? Did something happen prior to me? Is this about a broken relationship or mistrust with a previous leader? And it's really kind of diagnose what's missing and then giving consistent behaviors that will form both personal and operational trust. You can't demand it. If people force you, it's gonna have it's gonna be counterproductive.
Amazing answer. And we do not want things to be counterproductive. Speaking of being productive, let's talk about it. Tell our audience how to stay connected to you and the things you're working on.
Sure. You can find me on LinkedIn. The name is RoMaine Jones-Wise. You can find me there. And I am also listed as the senior consultant on Exude Human Capital's website. And the Wiser Choice branding is a work in progress, which will be uploaded sometime in Q4. But you can always find me on LinkedIn.
All right. So I love having like the last 2 minutes to just have a chat about whatever, right? You were telling me that you're in the process of writing a book.
Yes.
Talk to us about that real quick. What's the book about? Just tell me a little bit about what I can anticipate locking into when I receive this.
So the book is my journey of returning to work after significant loss. My mother and my husband passed away in 2023, and navigating work after that level of grief was something profound. And this is my survival guide and the things I wish somebody had told me before coming back to work, and the ways to engage with people, set boundaries, and kind of free ourselves from the expectation of coming back to work as the person we were before the loss.
Looking forward to getting my hands on that. Please keep us posted. We'll have you come back when that's released, and we'll talk about it, because that's what we do on the Kenneth L. Johnson Show here on WPPM 106.5 Philadelphia. RoMaine Jones-Wise, I really appreciate you coming by today and hanging out with me.
Thank you so much for having me.
Always amazing. I truly consider you a friend. I love when I have friends, not of myself, but of the show, come through. I know you're a big supporter of the work that we do. You tap in and check in on LinkedIn. We appreciate it. I smile when I see it, and I'm smiling today because I think the goal is always to amplify the voices of people that are brilliant. RoMaine Jones-Wise truly is that, but also to provide you with information that you can't really find anywhere else. It's the Kenneth L. Johnson Show. We do it each and every Monday at 2 p.m. live on WPPM 106.5 FM Philadelphia. Again, you can catch us LinkedIn Live, Facebook, YouTube. There is no reason to miss the Kenneth L. Johnson Show. We're going to see you next Monday. We're locking in, man. It's the Kenneth L. Johnson Show live, WPPM 106.5 Philly.